No place on earth has better weather.
And good morning, everyone. It's time now for the tropical update. And things are definitely looking a lot busier across the tropics. A lot of things to talk about. First of all, Tropical Depression Claudette. This one is roughly centered about 530 miles south of Sable Island, Nova Scotia. The coordinates 36.4 north, 61.8 west. It is packing winds of 35 miles an hour, and it continues to move very quickly, scooting off towards the east at some 20 miles an hour. Now, in the last few hours, though, the convection looks fairly impressive. There's still a big, deep ball of convection, some deep convection in association with Claudette. However, Claudette is expected to weaken, though, because as you can see, there is a trough of low pressure poised just to its north and east, and we think that Claudette will either, first of all, get absorbed with the trough, or else gradually work its way over some cooler waters as it heads out across the Atlantic. So at any rate, Claudette is expected to weaken as we go along in time. And the good news, Claudette poses no threat to any land area, so that is certainly some great news to talk about. As we head elsewhere, though, across the tropics, things are getting more interesting, too, across the Gulf of Mexico and across the southern part of the Atlantic. First of all, we see a little low-pressure system kind of swirling across the central Gulf. And with high pressure aloft over this area, it is certainly a region that does bear watching. And especially so when you consider that climatologically speaking, the Gulf of Mexico is a favored spot for development, at least for the month of July. Now, however, the pressures currently are fairly high throughout this region, but again, nonetheless, it's still an area that does bear some watching. There's also been a low pressure system, too, coming off the coast of Florida. Right now, it's a cold core system, but it's going to be working its way over some warm ocean waters as it hits the Gulf.
Out here, but no signs of anything organized here, well off the southeast coast of the U.S. And over the southeast U.S., we still have the big upper low kind of churning about in through here, a little energy rotating around it. So that's why we see our showers and thunderstorms. Now, off to the west of that upper low, there's a big upper high, and coming over the high, the flow is pretty much like this. So the flow kind of going around the low and around the high. And we mentioned the past couple of days that our forecast models are indicating or hinting that something might try to develop out here in the North Gulf, and look what we have. A cluster of thunderstorms that has been persisting here. Water temperature is running about 85 degrees here in through the western Gulf, and as we close into this area of concern, you can see a well-defined swirl right in through here. A little area low pressure over the northwestern Gulf of Mexico. Checking on some ship reports, we have some northeasterly winds here coming on in about 15 knots at 10-14 pressure. Down to the south, there's a buoy here, and it has a westerly wind at about 15 to 20 miles an hour, and the pressure is about 1,014, 1,015 millibars. So what we're looking at here is low pressure, northwest Gulf of Mexico. Notice, though, all the thunderstorms kind of off on the east side of it, as we're probably still feeling some of that flow around the old upper low. But still, if this can get a little better organized, it could threaten the North Gulf with some unsettled weather. So Hurricane Center has the planes standing by, and if it gets a little better organized, they'll be investigating this afternoon. But right now, it's kind of poorly organized, a swirl here with the thunderstorms off on the east side of the circulation center. But with the very warm waters, this will be watched very closely. Right now, what this doesn't have going for it is the upper level winds. Not too favorable, but those are forecast to change. So those of you on the North Gulf Coast, say from Louisiana to Mississippi, Alabama.
Weather Channel. No place on earth has better weather.
All right, it's time to update you on what's happening in the tropics. Lots going on, so let's get right into it. Tropical Depression Claudette still hanging on there. 11 a.m. advisory had the center of circulation around 36.3, 60.1, about 550 miles south of Sable Island, Nova Scotia. Winds only 35, moving brisk up to the east at 18. Pressure estimated at 1,009 millibars. And here's a look at our color-enhanced satellite picture. Notice it was a bit of a flare-up this morning, but now old Claudette's hitting that hostile environment, getting torn to pieces. And we have a visible satellite picture to show you, too. So as we show you that, we can see our circulation, our swirl out here, headed its way off to the east. So you can kind of see it right there. There's your center of circulation. This right here, that little black dot, that's Bermuda. Beautiful day in Bermuda. Nice westerly breeze in through here. But here's Claudette, and that should be dissipating as it continues to cruise on out over the North Atlantic. As we check on that colorized picture once again, there you can see some flare-ups of showers and storms. Still have that circulation around that upper low, which is sitting over Florida here. And there's that big upper low right in through here, and a little bit of disturbed weather out in here. But notice thunderstorms flaring up, fizzling up, flaring up, fizzling. So we need showers and storms that persist to get concerned. So we have the upper low here. Now to the west you have that hot high. And look what's popped up in between. If you were watching here the past couple of days, you heard it here first, the potential for something developing in the Gulf of Mexico. And we have...
Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Okay, it's time to check the tropical update. Again, Mike Bono and Bill Keneally here in the studio, and Sybil Staples, our director, as we bid adieu to Claudette, which is now moving on out to sea, east at 18 miles an hour. It has 35-mile-an-hour sustained winds. It's well south of Sable Island in Nova Scotia, 1,009 millibar pressure, so no threat to land anymore. And we can see that it's moving generally east to east-southeast. Still a pretty discernible circulation, and it really hasn't lost a lot of its tropical characteristics. It hasn't gone through the usual extratropical transition that we see. A lot of the convection or activity is right near the center, although it's a small and tightly wound storm going on out to sea, and didn't ever reach the hurricane status that Bill did a few days ago. There it is, clearly discernible, getting picked up by the jet stream in an upper-level trough. Still mainly tropical, again, over fairly warm waters east of about Virginia Beach, Virginia. We have an upper-level low that's spinning right now over Florida, not portending tropical development. And then as we go further west into the Gulf of Mexico, well, there we do have some concerns. Again, our upper-level trough here, not a tropical entity, but as you can see from the high clouds kind of fanning around in a clockwise direction, we have a high-pressure system developing over a low-pressure system at the surface. Look at these radar echoes now, some strong thunderstorms right in the New Orleans vicinity and down along the coastline, the low country and the bayou country. But look at the way those radar echoes are rotating counterclockwise, indication of a circulation of low pressure.